Today is another episode of Masters of the Craft, which is really important episodes for us, actually, really important series. I think it's more about speaking to people who are masters at their trade as opposed to business owners. So it really gives you a good understanding of how people do their business and how they get to the top of their game. So on that note, we've got David Coleman from Positive Lending with us today, who is I'm going to give you the wrong title now because I know you're a fantastic business development manager. Are you sales director?
Head of sales.
Head of sales. Got you. Head of sales at Positive Lending. So I just want to talk to David about his kind of journey and what he thinks makes good BDMs, good brokers, and kind of go through that financial services journey with him. So thank you, firstly, David, for joining me.
Thank you, mate. Good to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so I've been asking you for a while, so it's good to get you on. So tell us about your financial services journey up till now.
Well, I think like the majority of the industry, I fell into it by pure accident. I don't know how old I was. I was in my teens at the time, but you're talking four or 5 years before credit crunch happened. Fell into a big loan broker house in Watford, where I'm from. Stayed there for a couple of years. Moved on to a smaller boutique kind of brokerage, and then the credit crunch happened. And there was an abundance of redundancies overnight. Everyone was out of work. Lenders were disappearing. All the stuff we're aware of. That was my cue to disappear to Ibiza for a little bit. So yeah, jumped on a plane, had a good time, spun some records.
So I went into recruitment in 2008 after the crash, and you went to Ibiza. I think one of us got it right. I think that's probably you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then I returned not so long after. Ended up going into insolvency because obviously that's where the market was, to be fair. And a big insolvency house that just opened up local to where I was, and I ended up staying there for 5 years. I think 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed my time there, but it just wasn't my passion, really. Got into retail finance shortly after that for a little while. That just really wasn't my bag. And then the market started to pick up a little bit, and then opportunities presented itself. And effectively, I was at a smaller packager for a brief period of time. Got approached by my old boss back then, Jackson, who got in contact, had a meeting with him and Paul. And the rest is history. I haven't looked back. I mean, it'd be 6 years in July that I've been at Positive.
Amazing. What have you seen in that? Yeah. What have you seen in changes wise in that 6 years? Obviously, the growth of them, but what have you seen kind of change in that time with the business and how things have developed?
I mean, our business has developed and grown. That we've added more products to our offering. We've seen ups and downs. Obviously, COVID being part of that. Every business probably suffered a little bit from that. We've seen what's going on at the moment. There's ups and downs all the time, isn't it? Every time you think you're coming through the other side, something comes along to go, no, not today. But yeah, I think what continues and keeps us in the job really is the need for specialist lending, and not so much the need. There obviously there is a need on it, but it's the education in the market. I was at an event last Wednesday, Thursday, and a question was asked to the audience, probably a room of 40, 50 people. How many people offer a second charge? Predominantly filled by brokers, and about 3 people put their hands up, which just is a little bit scary.
What do you think that is? I mean, obviously there's a need for you guys and packages and that kind of thing, but why can't people do it themselves? Why do they need? Is it an education thing, or is it just an ease?
I mean, I think as a broker, regardless if you're an A or a DA, typically the work involved in it, you probably just go, look, do you know what the amount of work it takes to do this now? And I don't think any mortgage application is as straightforward as what it used to be, although your customer would probably disagree with that because they just see you finding the product and going, here you go, it's a mortgage.
There's no such thing as a vanilla case anymore, is there?
No, absolutely. So and there's a lot more intricacy into the product itself and so on like that, and you have to evidence a panel. So us as a business, we're whole of market, we've got access to all the lenders, we do this day in, day out, we've got experts that work with it, we've got dedicated support from the lender. So you can work with us, whether that's an advisable package basis, and know that you're in good hands.
Good. And just talking about COVID, I mean, I know you said it affected you. I mean, it affected everyone, but I mean, I was talking to packages the other day, and they reckon there was something like 60% of their pipeline got wiped out in that kind of their Liz Truss era, which was a shocker. I mean, how did you bounce back from that?
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID was a bit of a mad one because literally, I mean, it was thrown upon us our working environment changed overnight. So there's one dealing with that. Lenders then retracting from market, disappearing, products being pulled, criteria being restricted, surveyors not able to go. So there was that although it's only finite in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
that element of time of going, what is going on here? Are we going to survive? Can we actually lend? What's going to happen with this pipeline? Where are we on this now? But as always, the market bounced back pretty quickly, and workarounds were found, whether that was desktop automated valves and all the kind of stuff that lenders come out in with innovations to help keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I think it's happening the same at the moment, isn't it? Where last week a lot of rates got pulled. The swap rates are coming down slightly again this week. It's a bit of a you kind of got to constantly tell people not to panic, but it's really hard, isn't it? Because the mainstream media want the opposite.
They've got a lot to answer for, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, but I think that's the value of a good broker at the moment.
Yeah.
And they are worth their weight in gold, because actually they are the voice of reason, and they can say to their clients, right, just calm down, everything's going to be all right, because it will be all right. Yeah, inevitably, people always need a house. They want to buy a house. They need a roof over their head. Finance will need to be lent, because that's what lenders do. If they're not lending, they're not operating. So, there will always be business to be done.
It's the new normal, isn't it? When people have to get used to it, and it's educating your clients on the new normal. Because I've spoken to so many brokers who said, people have come back and said that just seems really high, but you're comparing something completely different, aren't you? It's the new normal.
It's a funny one. I think if you're a first time buyer and you never knew what a 1% rate was, and all of a sudden it's now, can you afford it and do you want it? That's the question.
Yeah, which should be the question all along, shouldn't it? Can you afford it? Do you want it? If not, don't have it.
Yeah, exactly right. And and if you were used to having a 1% rate and all of a sudden it's jumping up to 4%, which is going to be a shock to some. I mean, my mortgage has just done exactly the same. It's going to go up by a bit too much for my liking this month, but we are where we are.
Call it tough luck, isn't it?
Exactly right. That's it. But it is what it is. You are where you are. So.
Yeah, and you just have to allow for that, don't you? Hence the stress testing that doesn't seem to apply now. Right. But cool. Let's go on to kind of your personal brand then, because obviously I invited you on because you're very well known in the industry. You've done really well in regards to getting your kind of personal brand out there and that kind of thing. So it'd be interesting to see, because it's not just relevant to BDMs, it's relevant to brokers too, how important that's been for you and what that's meant for your kind of career, and whether that was strategic or you just kind of started it one day. Talk to me about your social media presence and your personal branding as a whole.
Yes, I mean, look, I think LinkedIn has been around for donkeys. I used it a little bit. My confidence wasn't there. I didn't really know what I was doing, if I'm being completely honest with you. But COVID is probably when it kicks in properly. Yeah. We had just been added to a network in the market, roadshows lined up, events lined up, etc. And then everyone was told, don't leave your house. So inevitably, all communication was kind of halted and distorted. So there was little old me picking up the phone going, hi, it's Dave from Positive. And people were like, who's Dave? Who's Positive? Go away. Leave me alone. We're in the middle of a crisis here. So I was like, right, how am I actually going to get some traction on what we're doing? And that's where LinkedIn really came into it. And I thought, you know what? We're locked up in our houses. We're done whatever. So even if everyone turns around and says, what are you doing? It doesn't really matter because I don't have to see anyone, do I? So, but I soon found that doing the personal side of it rather than just all corporate worked a lot better. Yeah. And my ethos was that if I go and meet a new broker or a new client, it's probably going to take me 2 or 3 meetings to actually, and both sides of the table, to get comfortable with each other and actually understand who each other are. Do we want to work with each other? Can we work with each other? Is this okay? Whereas the social element of LinkedIn and me kind of posting the way I do, well, people know I've got a son, people know I'm married, people know I like a bit of Lego, I like cooking, I like a whiskey, I like a DJ. Yeah, they know all these kind of bits. Now, when I walk into an event or a meeting now, everyone's like, how's Henry? And that icebreaker.
Not how's Dave.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. No one cares about me.
But that's good. Have you found that to be really beneficial? Because there are so many dinosaurs out there that say, you're not telling people about the business and that kind of thing. But actually, without being disparaging to everyone's kind of got the same products. You can't do that much more than someone else. What you can do is get your personal brand across and really, really show you. And like you said before, it's people that trust. It takes a while to trust someone, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as much as I love specialist lending, what I do and the industry we're in, it's quite difficult to make that sexy, especially all the time. So
Get what
having
we've got.
something that,
You go,
yeah,
"No."
yeah, exactly. But it's just, but having something that people can relate to, whether it's a family, whether it's the dog, whether it's this, whether it's that. I put up a post a good while ago. I found an old record bag when I was moving house,
Yeah.
and it just took me back to when I was DJing with vinyl and stuff like that. I put a post up about it. And the amount of DMs I got from CEOs, directors,
Yeah, yeah.
high-level profile people who were going, "Oh my God, you just brought back amazing memories." A lot of them didn't want to post publicly and which is
Yeah.
absolutely fine. But it just resonated with people, and then that was a point of conversation for probably the next 6 months on when I was meeting people.
Yeah.
And actually, I've had two sides to the story. Now, people come up and go, they'll come if I'm at an event, they'll come up to the stand. "Hi, Dave, how you doing? Oh my God, how's Henry? How's Gus?" And that leads on to talking about business.
Yeah.
I was at a lunch at the beginning of the year, and I sat next to a broker who said, "I've seen you on LinkedIn, but I don't actually know what you do." Well, brilliant, because guess
Yeah.
what?
Let me tell you.
And it was that conversation opener, and it all linked into.
Was that a bit like passive aggressive? Don't you know? I
Of
bet you
course,
do.
of course.
I
Yeah,
bet
well,
you do.
they're sending me business, so I don't care.
But I do say that actually when we talk about like personal branding stuff. I'm not sure everyone knows the name of our company. Like they know everyone that works here, but they don't know. So I suppose there's got to be like a happy medium of making sure you get your company brand out there as well. But I think for someone not to know what you do is probably a bit much as well.
Yeah,
They still
yeah,
understand me. Our titles in the front of our on our LinkedIn's as well as our
that's it
personal stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
So, what you mentioned before, like having the confidence to do it. And I know I say this a lot on podcasts, but it's really relevant because only 5% of people post on LinkedIn. So you always assume everyone does it because you see the same people. But
Yeah.
and it is tough at the beginning. So what did you do to kind of get over those barriers of the fact that you're not confident, you don't really know what to post? Whether you do personal stuff and there's lots of you don't look like an idiot. That's obviously lots of people's kind of problems.
Yeah, well, I mean,
How
I
did
think
you overcome it?
one of the biggest topics through lockdown was my barnet and not getting a haircut. But it became a
I've
thing,
never
and all
had
of a
that. I've never
sudden I
had
was
that
like,
issue.
yeah. But you could do it the other way
I
around.
love
But
my beard
you
got,
know,
yeah.
yeah. But again, it was just trying to find things that kind of made humour out of something, like the Amazon deliveries, because we were in lockdown, they were just constant and it just tongue in cheek stuff, but all
Yeah.
linked in, and or excuse the pun, all linked into what you're kind of doing. But
Yeah.
I think it was just again knowing that I suppose to a degree we were actually at home and I wasn't going anywhere, and if people didn't like it, it didn't really matter because no one was going to come up to me and go, "What
Yeah,
the
what's
hell
that
are you
about?
doing?" Yeah. But it worked really, and I think it was the person and I think when I first started doing it, there definitely was people, the keyboard warriors would start commenting.
I was going to say that. Did you get any trolls? Did you get any people that were
Oh, I
kind
got
of neggy
loads,
about it?
absolutely loads,
Really?
absolutely. And do you know what? It's funny over the period since starting that I've literally get nothing now. Very,
Yeah.
very rarely, very
I would
rarely.
think you've made it if you
Um,
can get a troll. I've never had any. I'm not. If it's not controversial enough, I need to start.
it's mad. But I think what also worked for me, I wouldn't retaliate. I just kill them with kindness, or go back and just be really patronising and kind of just play into the hand. But yeah, no, it's. I think it's the confidence thing was there, but like anything, it's kind of you've got to put that first foot forward and put yourself in the uncomfortable zone of doing something, and then all of a sudden you're okay doing it.
I think it's funny that people just assume that everyone that does it is really comfortable with it, and no one is. You can
I
get
still
more
doubt
comfortable.
myself. I still some things I post and I've got it all sorted, and I think, oh my God, that's a really good idea. I'm going to post that, and then I'll come around and I overthink it. And I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't post that. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Do you know what I would say to the team as well? Just send it.
Yeah.
Just put it on. I don't even look at the videos after I've done them because you'll start going, "Oh, you missed." But I and R and everything, and I repeat myself. So I'm like, if I edited everything, it would just take me forever. Just film it, send it. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
That's
Nobody's there to trip you up either. You're not going to lose business out of doing a bad video unless
course you're not, no.
it's massively controversial.
And again, it's the human element. That is it. We're not robots. We are human. Yeah, I mean, you make mistakes. You don't get everything right all the time. You could do 100 takes and you still might not get it right. You just go with it. Exactly that.
I mean, mine are bad because my videos are, I speak to someone, I get excited by what we've talked about, but then I go on the video and I'm too excited and I haven't really thought it through. I just want to get it out. And then I'm like, oh, I wish I had actually thought about what I was going to do before I did it. It makes sense. Cool. So let's go into like the broker side of things, because you speak to brokers every day in, day out, trade shows, telephone, going to meetings. So let's, most of the people that watch this are brokers. So If anyone's relatively new or just wanting to improve, what do you think personally? What makes a good broker and what makes people stand out in this market?
Socials is big for
Mhm.
any broker now, at whatever level they're comfortable doing it. But without that, I think if you haven't got a good social presence, you're going to get lost. Also, if you're a new broker, good luck because it's a tough market at the moment. But it doesn't mean there isn't business out there. I
But
think,
do you not feel
and
about the
again,
new brokers? I think like this is not a bad time to join because if you can do it now and you can dig in for the next 6, 12 months,
you
whatever we're
weather
going
the
to be.
storm. Yeah,
Yeah, imagine how good
absolutely.
you're going to be when it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's diversifying your model. We had this when everything sort of went south last year. That it's been such a market of going. Do you want a 2 or 5 year fixed on a mortgage?
Yeah,
No one else has had to do anything outside because it's been the market we've been in. It's been a very comfortable playing
yeah,
ground.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, the landscape changed, and everyone's like, "Wow, what do I do? What is this? What happens?"
I honestly think that's why some brokers have fallen by the wayside recently because I see some people absolutely thriving. I know no one's making record months, no one's
Yeah,
bullshitting about how well they're doing, but at the same time,
yeah,
people are thriving in the sense that they're picking up more business, they're being busier. But I've also seen a few fall by the wayside, and I genuinely think that is because they don't know how to work any differently. Because we've had it
yeah.
relatively easy, and if you started in that time, and maybe poor training, etc., where you've just gone 2 or 5 year fix, you've never heard of anything else. I think that's why the guys like the world is crumbling. But actually, you just got to work a bit harder. It's a tough market.
Absolutely. And there's gold out there without a doubt.
Mm.
And it's quite scary that the amount of brokers or percentage of brokers you speak to, and you go, well, how many clients you got on a 5 year fixed? Okay, when do you call them? 6 months before. Okay, they might not be there then. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
putting it out there. But if you give them a call now and you ask for, what's their current situation, what's their circumstances, had it changed? Are they looking to reduce their outgoings? Are they doing this? There are conversations about, and it's not just leading into what we do as a business. There's insurance cover, there's life cover, there's all those kind of all those conversations that could open up. Could be will writing cover because of things that be going on. Yeah, there's opportunities galore out there. You just got to be
How many
proactive and
life
find
events
them.
happen within 5 years? There's so much, isn't there?
Yeah,
And for you
huge,
to go,
huge.
I'll just phone them then. And then some. I speak to some brokers who have been going sort of 10, 12 years, and they're still buying leads. And I think if you just kept in contact with everyone for every 6 months, you wouldn't need another lead for the rest of
Yeah,
your life. Send a birthday card to everyone. You wouldn't need another lead for the rest of your life.
absolutely.
But it's crazy, isn't it? But again, we were very lucky that you just had a phenomenal amount of leads coming in. It was all 2 or 5 year fix, and so I think if you missed out on the relationship management side of things, you're probably feeling the effect now.
Well, I think that's a lot of the stuff we do. When we go out and visit brokers and see brokers, or for events and stuff like that, it's not really pushing positive as a business. It's really talking about the opportunities that are out there and actually how we can help with client retention, how
Yeah,
we can add revenue to that business by the products we're doing. If you're not offering that, you're probably not offering a full rounded service.
yeah. And if not offering that, they're going elsewhere. And if they're going elsewhere, they are
Absolutely,
phoning
yeah,
them every
yeah,
6 months.
that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, what else do you think, like attributes wise? I know obviously the socials are important, but talk about kind of type of person you need to be a successful broker. What do you think? What do you see in your guys that are smashing it? What do you see? Any kind of connection between their
Yeah, I
characteristics
mean,
or
I
attributes?
think if they're sort of a standalone broker or firm, you've got to be surrounded by the right people. You've got to be networking as well.
Yeah.
I think that the networking side of things is so vital. I think that there's still a stigma around. Oh, well, that's the competition. I shouldn't be talking to them. Listen, there's enough food out there for everyone's plate. You've just got to be in the right areas, picking up the right menus. But it's just
Yeah.
it's if you're bouncing off people and you're seeing what others are doing, successful people as well. If you're looking to grow or looking to learn, be around those people. They'll help you get to where you need to be to inadvertently as well. Or if you, there's so many good individuals in our industry. Yeah, if
Mm.
you turn around and say that I'm struggling in this area, I need a bit of help with this, people will offer a helping
Oh
hand
yeah,
without a
people are
doubt.
massively helpful. I don't think people even
Yeah,
appreciate how much, especially successful people. It's a real trait of successful people that they want
yeah,
to share it. They want to share the wisdom. They're
absolutely.
happy to.
Yeah,
I think that's really important. That brokers can understand they can go to other brokers.
yeah,
Having said that, this is an interesting one. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about probably just because I was going to rant about it. But your LinkedIn or your social media presence is very positive. Everything is, you've got some humour in there. You've obviously got your business in there, that kind of thing. I feel like some brokers are really missing the point when they moan about time spent on the phone or can't get hold of my package, can't get hold of my lender. There is your strategy makes sense because you're aiming at brokers. but brokers aren't aiming at brokers; they're aiming at clients. So I feel like some of it's been really missed. There's no strategy as such, but it's just been the point of social media has been missed. I think by some brokers.
Yeah, I feel, and it's like everything you do. I suppose kind of what we do, although we are typically talking to a broker about the products we can offer and how they can service their client bank. But if you're talking direct to the consumer, you've got to make that resonate with them. It's the same thing. You've just got to change the direction that your message is going in. The end result is the same.
Yeah.
But you've got to make it, you've got to make it, I suppose, palatable for them, and understand that they don't understand everything about a mortgage or a second child or a bridge or whatever it may be.
I don't think I've ever talked about recruitment problems because no one cares. Like, no one cares about my problems. My clients care about their problems and how I can fix them. So it seems strange to go on and say, God, Santander a nightmare. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want you to fix my mortgage. I want to see your positives about your case studies about how much you can do. And I think sometimes, I don't know if that's other industries because I'm only connected to brokers, but it seems it really happens a lot with brokers where they just talk about their problems so wherever other brokers can go. And I get that, like you've got a bit of a nice network where you can go, yeah, I agree, they are rubbish, or yeah, it has taken a long time, the service levels have dropped. But I think they're missing the point of social media in the sense that we still need to sell, we still need to make money, and you're not going to do that by moaning.
And I also think, if a lender is struggling, which the lenders do, they do it all the time. By someone posting on social media about it, it might get it off their chest, but it's not going to change anything.
No,
They're not going to
not
go, oh
changing
my
their
God,
CRM system because everyone
John's just posted on LinkedIn. We better sort this out. Come on.
Yeah, someone's tagged me in it. No, I agree. I do. The only thing I would say the moaning helps with is not helps with, but the conditional selling from estate agents. I think brokers do need to get together to kind of.
But I think the difference on that is that's an education and an awareness piece. And then what with that, I'm fully supportive of that. That's calling out bad practice.
100%. I think there's nothing wrong with tagging people that do it. I think if you're doing something that's against the rule, you're actually against the regulation, then absolutely tag away. And I don't think they can do anything about it. They can't. It's not. I don't think they can take you to court or anything because you're actually doing something that it's genuine.
No.
You've got proof. Your customers are telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the more that this bad practice is shouted about and shared, well, inevitably at some point someone's going to have to do something about it, or it's going to stop and be removed.
If they ever will.
Yeah.
Countrywide Connells continue to do it, and no one's going to ping them for it, no matter how much. There was they had an internal investigation, didn't they? Funny enough, they didn't find any proof, which is strange.
Yeah,
strange about those internal investigations, they're very clever. So I'll tell you what we always also get, especially in the recruitment side. Can you see that the sun has changed direction again? And I'm now.
I know, there
has
you
that
go.
come up? Oh, I'm now in like an angel light. There you go.
Heaven's door has just opened up again.
Yeah. Not now, Jesus. I've got a podcast. So talk to me. We get a lot of mortgage brokers that want to go into the BDM world, and it's a tough gig because it's a smaller industry. There's more brokers. You've got to go for the right reasons. But what do you think the transferable skills are to go into that kind of that BDM world, and what would help brokers? What they need to think about when potentially moving over?
Well, I think from a broker's perspective, the plus they're going to have is knowledge of the market. So lender knowledge, depending what you're going into, how much of that is transferable, but it's all relative. I mean, like every meeting I go to, I sit in front of a traditional mortgage broker. I will probably walk out learning something from that meeting. The broker won't realise they've taught me anything, but I'll always be looking to understand more about what they're doing because I'm not in their world and they're not in my world. That's why we work together.
Yeah.
But I think you've got if you're a people person, which you need to be a BDM or account manager because it's relationship built. And if you're a good broker, you have good relationships, so it's transferable. If you know the market, if you're a good broker, hopefully you do, you can transfer that across as well. And again, it is just the networking, getting yourself out, constantly having an ability, a hunger to learn. Podcasts, events, being at stuff, and constantly just soaking up everything you can.
Do you think that's actually one of the main things that I didn't really think about? You've got to kind of plan maybe years ahead if you do want to change into that BDM side of things because you need to be known, don't you? Because you've got to stand out. Yeah. There's not a lot that stands out. If you're two mortgage brokers and no one knows you, then realistically, it's the guy that does the network and it's the guy that's already been in the guy that has that social media presence. So
absolutely,
it's kind of a long-term strategy to move into it rather than like I'm a bit bored, want to be BDM. I do speak to some that have kind of lost the love of speaking to clients. I think that's probably true. But I don't think that's a great reason to move over either. I think you have to want to help people.
I think if you'd lost the love of talking to clients, well, you're still going to talk to clients.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, beat us too rather than
exactly right. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of unison in both sides of that.
Yeah.
I think you just got to be hungry, and you've got to have a good work ethic. If you're not prepared to work, and also the company you decide to go and work for, if you're going to go and work for a small boutique lender that no one knows of, you're going to have a tough and probably quite a lonely job.
Yeah.
If it doesn't mean you have to be with a fully well-known brand, etc. But if you're with a company who's well known, established, or is up and coming, then you're going to set yourself up.
Do you think that's a good place to start for brokers that are looking to move over? Maybe that smaller, because I don't realistically, as much as we say it can be done, there are BDMs looking for work. So
Yeah.
to move from a broker to a BDM, is it going to be more like a role that perhaps isn't as interesting for a BDM? Do you think, or do you think you just have to try your luck?
Well, I think it's one of those. I mean, if you're moving across to become a BDM to a lender and you've got a little black book you can bring with you that's going to help you out, brilliant. If you're going in blind, you're going to have probably a bit of a tough gig to go on. And also, because the lender's not going to be known that well, you're going to find it tougher to get in front of brokers to actually talk about the lender, unless you've got some amazing USP in the market. But let's be honest, there's a lot of lenders out there that all merge into the same kind of criteria, right? So if it's that situation, then you've got a tough gig on your hand, and it's probably going to be quite lonely. There's probably going to be quite a lot of pressure on you because it's a small lender just starting up. And I
don't think people take that into account, actually, with BDMs. I think brokers think that they've got quite an easy role because you're handing out donuts, etc. But like you just said then, it's quite a lonely role.
Yeah.
You're going in, it's not like a broker where you're sat with your peers every day and, talking about different roles and that kind of thing.
The one thing I love about the job that we do, sort of being on the road, or being at home, is that you're out and about. You're not tied to a desk. The thing I miss about it is being around a desk with everyone and bouncing off everyone's ideas and banter and whatever else is going on. So it's a real catch. I always try and talk to the team daily just to catch up, and it's not even just about work. Yeah, obviously you want to know what they're up to and doing up, but are they okay? What they're doing? What they've done on the weekend? Because you don't have them conversations.
No. I always think that it's as much the same as working from home. You miss the chair turn situations where, especially when you can help someone. I think there are people missing out on being helped by senior people because you've got to set up a Teams meeting for it, as opposed to much the same as when you're telling someone they haven't done something right. If you can turn your chair and say, "That's not right. Can we do this?" It's much more palatable than setting up a meeting, because then all of a sudden it's a serious thing, isn't it? Because you have to have a meeting to talk. Yeah. So I suppose there's kind of swings and roundabouts with both the working from home BDM kind of situations. That's been really useful, David. I ask everyone this at the end. I know you're not a broker, but as it's the same question, I'm going to ask anyway. If a new broker's coming into the market, you can give them one tip to be successful. What would it be?
Speak to positive lending. No, I as much as I do, mate, I think be open to other ways of helping clients. Don't be scared. There's still an element, especially I suppose if you're new. Don't be scared of specialist finance or alternative finance solutions, because they will lead you into different client banks. Don't be scared about going and speaking to solicitors and lawyers and estate agents to look at lead referral systems. Look at land, look at development, look at auction, look at other ways. It's
scary stuff if you've never done it, isn't it? But like you say, you just need to speak to people. You need to get.
But then that's where the brokers talks to us. As I said, we don't push the positive model. We push, this is how it works, this is how we can help you, this is the customer journey, this is what it looks like. Want us to come with us on a joint meeting with you? We'll come and do it. All that kind of stuff to help hold their hand and get them into the situation where they can actually be more comfortable around it.
Amazing, good stuff. So don't be shielded to stuff you're not used to. I understand that as well. These resi guys who've always made their money from resi and they don't do any different. Like, it is quite daunting, but it's the same as social media or anything else you're going to do. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable initially.
Absolutely, yeah, spot on.
Amazing. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. All of David's socials and positive lending, etc., will be on the website and on the YouTube, and also on the markets that we send out. And I really appreciate your time today, David. Thanks very much.
Top man, Marcus. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, speak to you later. Bye.